Hello everyone. So in this video, I will discuss the Supreme Court case Christian Cadahas y Cabias versus People of the Philippines, decided on November 16, 2021. So this case is important because it explains what constitutes child pornography in the digital age, the limits of the right to privacy, and why the sweetheart defense does not apply when the victim is a minor. So I will ask a few questions given to us. So number one, what the case is all about. So this case involves the criminal conviction of Christian Cadahas y Cabias for violating Section 4 C2 of Republic Act number 10175 or the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 in relation to the Republic Act number 9775 or the Anti-Child Pornography Act of 2009. At its core, the case examines whether including a minor to send sexually explicit photos through social media constitutes child pornography, and whether evidence obtained from a password-protected account by a private individual is admissible in court. Next question. What are the facts of the case? So, in 2016, the petitioner, who was 24 years old, entered into a romantic relationship with a 14 years old minor, referred to as AAA. In November 2016, the victim's mother, BBB, discovered Facebook Messenger conversation between the petitioner and AAA. So, in this message, the petitioner persistently coached and instructed the minor to send nude photos, especially of her breast and vagina. So, because of this inducement, AAA eventually sent the photos. So, upon discovering the messages and images, BBB forced AAA to open the petitioner's Facebook Messenger account in order to secure copies of the conversation and photos as evidence. So during trial, the petitioner admitted sending explicit messages such as "Sige hubad" or "Go ahead, undress," but denied sending the photos of his own private parts. The regional trial court found the petitioner guilty, and this conviction was affirmed by the Court of Appeals, with a modification as to the penalty. So the next question. What are the issues of the case? So, the Supreme Court addressed four main issues. So, I will discuss it. The four main issues. So, the first is whether the photos and messages were inadmissible because they were obtained from a password-protected account, allegedly violating the petitioner's right to privacy. So, the second issue is whether including a child to send nude photos constitutes child pornography under the Anti-Child Pornography Act. Next, third, whether criminal liability exists between if there was no intent to sell, distribute, or profit from the photos. And the last, or the fourth main issue, whether the prosecution proved the petitioner's guilt beyond reasonable doubt, despite his claim of a romantic or sweetheart relationship with a minor. So the next question is, what are the ruling of the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court denied the petition and affirmed the conviction with modification of the penalty. So, the right to privacy. The court ruled that the evidence was admissible. It claims or it clarified that the constitutional right to privacy protects individuals from unlawful government intrusion, not from acts of private individuals. So, moreover, since the petitioner voluntarily shared his Facebook password with a minor, he had a limited, reasonable expectation of privacy over the contents of the account. So, on child pornography, the court held that child pornography includes any visual representation of a child engaged in explicit sexual activity, including the lascivious exhibition of the genitals or breasts. So the petitioner's repeated commands and inducement clearly showed his intent to cause the creation of child pornography. Even if he did not personally take or distribute the photos, on criminal intent and the sweetheart defense. So the Supreme Court rejected the sweetheart defense, and it emphasized that a minor's consent is immaterial because children are deemed incapable of giving valid consent to sexual acts due to their age and immaturity. The court further ruled that the offense is mala inse, meaning it is inherently immoral, and the petitioner's deliberate and repeated inducement proved that criminal intent beyond reasonable doubt. On the penalty, so because the crime was committed through a computer system, specifically a mobile phone and the social media, the penalty was increased by 1 degree under the Cybercrime Prevention Act. So the petitioner was sentenced to reclusion perpetua and ordered to pay a fine of 1 million. So the next question is, what are the key or takeaways or learnings in this case? What are my key takeaways or learnings? So first, constitutional protection against unreasonable searches and seizures apply primarily to state agents, not private individuals. Second, sharing passwords and engaging in explicit digital communication significantly reduces one's expectation of privacy. Next question is, the next learning for me is, third, a romantic relationship does not excuse sexual exploitation of a minor. The sweetheart defense has no place in cases involving child pornography. And lastly, crimes committed through technology carry harsher penalties, reflecting the state's strong policy against cyber-enabled sexual exploitation of children. So, the conclusion in this case is, in summary, the case of Christian Cazajas E. Cabias versus People reinforces the Supreme Court's strong stance against child pornography, especially in the digital age, and clearly establishes the inducement alone is sufficient for criminal liability, regardless of consent, profit, or distribution. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.